And I know people get mad and you keep talking about. Listen, we're trying to give you a scenario in which an organization still has to make a choice. We saw the way we came off 2020. We come into 21. We got high expectations. Third game of the season, Baker get hurt, right? Now we got to make a decision. Do you play him or do you not play him?
Ironically enough, the same game of the season that Deshaun Watson gets hurt.
And overall, most people, either you are a Baker bro or you weren't a Baker bro, we all agreed that they should have sat him down, right?
1,000%.
And we all,
I believe in my heart that he would still be here if they had sat him down.
And they also took heat for having the most expensive backup in the game, but would not utilize him because they just threw him out there. Now, here's the point. I think that had a lot to do with them saying, you know what, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to give him 2 weeks. I think also the Joe Burrow thing went into it. They looked at Joe Burrow and said, I'm not sure that they should be playing him on that injury because it's going to linger. Now, here's the thing. Like you said, they learn from that, but they also have to understand they don't have that type of time and grace period no more. So you got Deshaun Watson, and think about it. The way the offensive line has been playing, you cannot overstate it. Deshaun Watson got beat up against Pittsburgh. Yeah. Deshaun Watson got beat up a little bit against Tennessee. And you saw what happened in DTR where they put him in the game. He's going to take hits. So you have to have a contingency plan that says, if we need a play, if we need to put somebody in, we can run the football, run play action, and he won't throw picks. Give me a veteran guy.
Guys, we got to move on because we've talked about this a lot, right? We got to talk about.
We stumbled upon it, too.
There's been a lot of talk about Kevin Stefanski and the play calling. And I'll say this. Number one, I feel like every game the Browns lose, everybody complains about the play calling. He gets no credit when they win. Now, that doesn't mean he doesn't deserve blame because I thought he made some mistakes. I think the overreaction to every time a trick play doesn't work is insane. Trick plays, when they don't work, always look bad on every team. When they work, we go bananas. My biggest problem with Stefanski really was not about how much he threw the ball, because in the second half they had to throw the ball. They were down big. I do think that he's so usually enamored with tight ends. Yesterday, I think, was the game to use the more tight ends.
I thought
and
so
try
too,
for
Bull.
a dink and dunk offense.
And they didn't do it.
And that's the fair complaint. Complaining about how often they threw the ball, to me, that's unfair.
I think it's more looking at the kind of throws they made. You got to put DTR in a position to be successful. And we talked about this on Friday. What is the offense going to look like? We all said this. It's basically going to be an extension of the running game. You're going to have quick hitters to the line, to receivers that you have blockers out there with them to get them bubble screens or whatever. Tight ends are going to be heavily involved. Likely Ford out of the backfield. I didn't see that.
Now, what we don't know, without looking at the All-22 yet, I don't know if you've seen the All-22 yet, is were there routes that were open that he should have hit quicker and he just wasn't seeing it?
We don't know, but they didn't highlight that on the broadcast.
He independent of the play calling. DTR was awful in this game. Now, I'm not killing him because I, like many people who saw his preseason and went bananas like lunatics, said this guy's a fifth-round pick for a reason. Sure. Now, there are exceptions to the rule. You can bring up Brock Purdy, you can bring up Tom Brady, fine.
He's the norm.
The norm is rookie quarterbacks, period, but especially rookie quarterbacks drafted late that play quick, that weren't expecting to play, are going to struggle most of the time, and he did.
I think Brock Purdy was the last pick in the draft.
Right.
I think we start to become deconditioned, thinking, well, if Mr. Irrelevant can do it, hell, our guy was the starter at UCLA for 5 years. He should be able to do it.
We all agree that Kyle Shanahan is a much better play caller and a schemer than Kevin
that has
Stefanski.
something to do with it.
Because when you look at the San Francisco 49ers, they run the football from every level. They give you motion, they give you split action, they run out of their shotgun. I had to look at it.
They also have weapons.
They got weapons.
I mean, you give any offense Debo and McCaffrey.
I've seen every Browns game for the last 3 years on the All-22.
Debo didn't even do anything yesterday.
No, he didn't.
Tell me about it. I have it in fantasy.
I watched the whole All-22. I watched all the All-22 this year, and I reached out to Jake Burns. He's on the Orange and Brown Report. You know, I think he breaks down the film well, and he's broken down the All-22. And I said, listen, let me just reach out to you and ask you a question.
Of this game already?
Not this game, but overall. I said, I watched all the other games, including up to this one. I don't think this is out yet. And I said, Is it just me, or does it seem like this is the same offense that I've been watching on all 22 for the last 2 years?
Yeah, this nonsense about wait till you see the offense. Stop hyping it because it's not there.
He said, besides the trick plays, this offense is very, very similar to what they've done. Besides the trick stuff, it's the same offense.
You know how it's different now? Your wizard is gone.
And
there's no Nick Chubb.
And people.
And he hides a lot of warts.
Well, but last week without him, they had their best offensive game of the year.
But here's the thing. You can have a great offensive game. You can have spots we just talked about up and down. But the reason why everything looks the way it does, and when people try to say Nick Chubb is regular, he's not. What we're saying right now is when you have a Nick Chubb, you have to respect the run game. Passing game, when the passing windows is different.
The Browns are now one-dimensional.
If you got Nick Chubb, you may think the O-line was balling, but guess what? Nick Chubb says, oh, there's a guy in the hole, I'm going to cut it back. Once he cuts it back, he has vision that other people don't got. Then he makes the first guy miss. So now he's in the secondary. Then when you hit him, he's falling forward because he always moves the pile. So you got Nick Chubb doing all 4 of these things to make your offense look a lot better. And yet and still, when you take that away, you're starting to see, well, who am I scared of? Who scares you?
They're one-dimensional.
Yeah.
And that's how teams become losers.
We got to
week in and
see.
week out.
I'm not ready to say they're one-dimensional yet because we've only had one game of Jerome Ford and Deshaun Watson. One game.
Yeah, but the run game wasn't there when they won. That was mostly Deshaun Watson.
Right. But the goal is to win. It doesn't matter. The run game wasn't there.
Right.
And it was irrelevant that it wasn't there in that game. We don't. Right. That's all. We only have one game.
But now we have the next game where the run game was not there at all.
Right. But you were going with a quarterback that had no chance. The whole defense was focused on the run, and we know he's not Nick Chubb.
Now you're zero-dimensional.
Yesterday you were zero-dimensional. Yes, that's fair.
Which is the last thing in the world anybody wants to be.
I just gotta. We gotta see. You gotta see more.
I want to see Pierre Strong more.
Yeah.
I do. I want to see him more.
He played in garbage time, but
I know he did, but it was a nice run. He's got breakaway speed. What the hell?
Did you notice what they said in the telecast? He said it's very hard for the Browns' offensive line to get back into pass block when they know you're passing the football, especially when this line is built to block for Nick Chubb.
Absolutely.
When you watch the archetypes of what the skill sets are, the Browns have never been tremendous pass blockers. What they've been great at is pounding teams and running play action. So when you want to run this 5-wide stuff and you got a quarterback that has never played the game before, that hasn't been in the game, to run 5 wide is malpractice with a rookie quarterback because it takes too much high degree of basically it's a high degree of just knowing what's going on.
You got to process things so fast.
You got to process it. You got to make the line calls. You got to understand where the blitz is coming from. You got to throw the ball with anticipation. So no, you can't. Now what happened to taking the ball, snapping it, and going with a quick 3-step drop under center? What happened to that?
That's what I thought we'd see.
You can max protect with 2 tight ends.
I'll be curious to see if he does play. I'm hoping, obviously we're all hoping Watson plays against San Francisco. If they will adjust the offense some, and if DTR will be a little more confident because he seemed like he was not confident at all. Seemed like he was in over his head in that game.
Yeah.
If he plays again, I got to assume he's going to start again in 2 weeks.
Unless Deshaun's healthy.
Even if you're right, even if they did sign Carson Wentz or Nick Foles, I can't imagine they play. I guess you never know, right? But we'll see. I think Stefanski definitely deserves some blame. But the reality is, and I think I've said this before, and I think it's pretty obvious, there are not that many difference-maker head coaches in the NFL. There's 4 or 5 that make a difference.
I think we played one yesterday.
Yeah.
Probably.
You know what? Mikey wants to make a point. I'll hold my point for after
just
Mikey's.
real quick on the play calling, DTR whole situation. I said this on the postgame show. I just want to – I don't know if you saw it, Jay, or Bull, you saw it, but to me, and I bring everything back to basketball.
Yeah, this is good analogy.
It seemed like when you have a backup quarterback, you want to get him as many layups and free throws as humanly possible.
Right.
At least to get him in rhythm. And based on what we saw, there didn't seem to be any quote-unquote layup plays there for Dorian Thompson-Robinson. Everything seemed to be an intermediate throw, multiple progressions, and in basketball terms, it seemed like he was
gave
taking
him a high degree of difficulty.
But
You're right.
Yeah.
Again, what we don't know is maybe some of those plays were supposed to be quick hitters, and he didn't see it. Or he was nervous and didn't throw it.
And that's fair. And when we get the All-22 back later today, it takes 24 hours. We'll be able to have a better
and both the
evaluation.
coaches know that right now.
Absolutely.
And if that is the case, then you better start getting somebody else ready.
And if you're right and he didn't do that, and that's on Stefanski. But my point was originally is that I think there's roughly 5 coaches that make a difference in a big-time way. There's a couple of coaches at the back end who suck and are hurting teams, and probably 25 coaches in the NFL that are
Just
as good
mid.
as the talent around them.
You're right. You're absolutely right.
And our problem is that 2 of those difference makers are in our division.
And it doesn't help.
That's a problem.
But when I was looking at the game and they would show shots of Harbaugh, he had a cool, calm poker player's demeanor.
I saw that too.
He knew. He knew.
This game was over.
I'm without, was it 8 starters?
Yeah.
He was without starters all over the field.
Yeah, but he had his most important starter.
And that's big.
Yeah.
But so there's a question for you. Would you rather your team go into a game minus 8 starters, offense and defense, or minus your starting quarterback? And if you have an offense that is deep with talent, I'd take that one.
Yeah.
Because I've got other playmakers. But what was exposed yesterday, and I'm going to say this too, Cleveland Browns fans have historically and are right now over-evaluing the talent we have at wide receiver by miles.
Well, I said that before.
By
the season.
miles.
I mean,
and I was,
But
I
we-
was
no, but Bull, that
I was
hasn't
crushed
been-
for that.
That
I
is
said
an
that
every year
Every
thing.
fan base
Yeah.
does that.
Yeah, however,
every fan base does that.
when you look at what we have at wide receiver, I said after week 2, I said at the end of the season when we're doing our postmortem, we're going to look back at the wide receiver position this year the way we looked at the inside of the defensive line
I completely
last
disagree.
year.
I completely disagree.
Watch.
Amari Cooper is a top 20 wide receiver.
And Miles Garrett is a top 5 pass rusher.
You said the
But
interior pass rush.
just take it as a
tackles.
unit.
D
Pass
tackles.
rush. Pass rush.
You said D tackles though.
Right, but I'm
Okay.
saying pass rush. Okay,
Yeah,
you got Miles Garrett, but you
the
got a
rest
bunch of guys.
But the rest of the Browns defensive line were they weren't starters.
Yes, and that's what we got at wide receiver
No,
this year.
they have decent players.
They're not. Bull, they're not.
All right.
Listen.
First of all, Donovan.
Bush,
first
G.
of
Bush,
all,
am I wrong?
First of all, Donovan.
DPJ,
Can I finish my point?
go ahead.
First of all, your idea that you would rather have a quarterback sit than 8 starters is insane.
No, it's
because
not.
Nothing's more. No, of course it is. Because you win with quarterbacks in
You
this
didn't
league.
hear my whole statement. If I
Jay,
had
all I've heard you do is
playmakers
talk.
on
Let
offense-
somebody else get a word in right now. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go.
So listen to me.
Come on.
What I'm saying is if you've got no other playmakers on offense,
They
none.
have playmakers. What are they supposed to do? You had a quarterback that couldn't play.
We have playmakers
If they had
on
Jamar
offense.
Chase yesterday, it wouldn't have done him any good.
We have-
If they had Justin Jefferson yesterday, you didn't have a quarterback to give him the ball. What are you
We
talking
have
about?
No playmakers on offense.
Amari Cooper's not a playmaker.
He wasn't yesterday.
You just said he's not a. Is he a playmaker? Yes or no?
If he's got a quarterback, of course he is.
Okay, so what are you
But-
talking about?
So who else on that offense scares any defensive coordinator? Give me a name.
Nobody. Who else on the offense besides Travis Kelce is anybody scared on the Chiefs? Nobody.
Patrick Mahomes.
Besides the quarterback, Jay.
Oh, besides the quarterback.
What, teams-
Other than that, let's not look at the quarterback.
Jay, people are scared of Deshaun Watson, not like Patrick Mahomes, of course, but
No, they're not.
So
not even close.
of course they are.
What are your thoughts on DPJ?
He's an average receiver.
Okay, what are your
The
thoughts?
Browns' defensive line, none of those guys were average. They were all terrible.
What are your thoughts
It's
on
a
the-
terrible
What are
comparison.
your
it's
thoughts
not.
on Elijah Moore?
He's just a guy just like I said he
Okay.
would be.
What about Njoku?
Average tight end. They're better than average.
What about Marquise Goodwin?
Average tight end.
Marquise Good. Who thought anything of Marquise Goodwin? He's been what he was.
So
Well, what do you want?
So I'm just.
Gee,
He's making our point.
I'm
we're
saying-
not making your point.
saying-
The
You
Browns'
are.
defensive line was loaded with scrubs. These guys are not scrubs.
Okay,
they're players.
Okay,
they're average guys.
They're better. They're better.
They're way better
they're
than last
better
year's
than
You're
the
saying
defensive line.
scrubs. I mean, they have Miles Garrett, too.
Yes,
Let's not
just like the
forget that.
Browns have Amari Cooper.
And what are you getting? You're getting from the Browns wide receivers this year what we got from the Browns defensive line last
a
year.
ridiculous comparison,
No,
but
it's not.
whatever.
I believe that the Browns' defensive line last year was worse than what the.
Of course they're worse.
But
it was the worst in the league.
I think what Jay is saying is.
yeah.
We're overestimating the
Who?
value.
Not me. I didn't overestimate it.
I never
a
said
lot
you.
of people. A lot of people.
You're so defensive,
Yes.
Bull. I
A
never
lo-
said you.
a lot of people-
I said the Cleveland
I'm
Browns
not
fan
defensive.
base,
I'm just saying-
of which you're not a part of. So why would I say you?
I'm saying that every fan base overrates their talent.
They do?
Everyone, of course they do.
Does-
I had every Jet fan telling me they're going to go to the playoffs when Aaron
The
Rodgers got
Jets
hurt.
are the Browns. The Jets are the Browns.
Every
Their fan
fan-
base is the Browns fan base. They talk
Steeler
themselves
fans were
into,
saying Kenny Pickett's going to be the next star.
They talk themselves into the idea that they're better than they are. That's what we've done here.
Did Steeler fans not think Kenny Pickett was going to be great?
Yeah,
How's he been so far?
That's
He's
fans.
Some
trash.
did. Some did.
That's fans.
He's
I think the
trash.
problem in Pittsburgh is the offensive coordinator.
You can do two things at once.
Yeah.
Everybody's delusional. Everybody can drink the Kool-Aid.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, and I don't care what other fans are. I don't
We're
care that every
delusional
other.
too. So what we're saying is, if you look at this receiving core, there are certain, and this is what I said before we start the show. Sometimes, they're 2-2. Is the world falling? No, because Deshaun Watson can come back.
Well, you guys are talking about the team as if everything's lost.
No.
Yeah.
We just pointing out areas of opportunity. There are some areas where they can improve. This is the same way they would do in a film session. You think they're going to go in there and say everything was great when we lost 28-3? No, they're going to say, Jim Schwartz is going to say, defense, we got to adjust some stuff. They found out some stuff on the run game. Remember, I'll even go to this. And just so you know, when we watching and we talk about the X's and O's, one thing that Jim Schwartz saw and one thing I'll give Baltimore credit for was we talked about non-contain on the backside. Didn't we say that?
Well, what we said was at some point someone's going to figure that out.
And I said, and you watch the touchdown play with Lamar Jackson. You see what they did.
Everything went one
every
way.
flow. And
Yeah.
then what they did is they took and ran the counter play with the quarterback right, and it opened up like the Red Sea. And I was like, oh, they've been doing some film work on this.
But that's always been the counter
Right.
to an over-aggressive,
Yup.
a hot pursuit defense.
We
That's
saw
why
that.
you beat it.
And that's what we wanted.
Flow it one
we
way.
can't complain about it now. We wanted them to be aggressive.
no.
Well, no, it is what it is.
And if they had
but there's a cheat
and
code
if-
to
if
it,
they
and
had-
now it's out of the bag.
I don't buy that at all.
We'll see.
Nobody else can
We'll
play.
see.
First of all, there's no other Lamar. Nobody else can play that way.
There are other
He's a
running
unique player.
quarterbacks.
Not like him, though.
There's other plays you can do to simulate that. You can
Yeah.
do counter plays in the backfield with running backs.
And
You can
Jim
do
Schwartz
that.
is a great
Yeah.
coach, and he'll adjust
He'll
as well.
adjust too.
But here's the thing: the touchdown that put the game out of hand at 21-3 when they scored that third. Andrew, that was a great throw by Lamar and a great catch by Andrew.
That was the greatest.
What are you going to do?
That was the best.
coverage. The coverage was good.
Vintage
That throw
Lamar.
that's
That
the
was
best-
a beautiful
that's-
throw.
It's the best throw I've ever
And a
seen.
great
Lamar.
catch.
That's the best throw I've ever seen Lamar Jackson throw.
It's among them. I mean, he's made some
mean,
incredible throws in his career.
I mean, I don't know how he got it in
but
there.
there was one spot that he could hit where that play would be a touchdown, and he hit it.
And
He hit
perfect throw.
Perfect execution. Denzel Ward maybe didn't get as much on his jump, but that's because he
Yeah,
was moving in the process. But he
yeah.
played it well. First of all, the mismatch at that position, they took advantage of it.
And I think one thing that we saw when it was 14-3, and this is when you goes back to talking about Harbaugh. He won that game and it was easy to him. He didn't. It
he
wasn't
was
like
never stressed.
it was a walk in the park.